Live with CDP Sports Talk, a weekly sports and entertainment podcast sponsored by Barry Cullen Chevrolet. Live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and LinkedIn. And on audio via Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, Anchor FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Radio Public, and TuneIn. Now, here's your host, Chris Palme.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to season 14, episode 30, overall 745 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by our friends at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership, located at 905 Woodlawn Road West in the Guelph Auto Mall. Check out their website, barrycullen.com, for the newest selection of new and pre-owned GM vehicles, along with their great selection of all-electric vehicles, EVs, as well as Cadillac vehicles, and, of course, a great selection of pickup trucks there at Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership. You can call them at 519-824-0210 and tell them Chris Palme sent you, or you can email the dealership at info@barrycullen.com. Barry Cullen Chevrolet Dealership has been family run and operated here in the city of Guelph since 1969. Good morning, everybody, on this Thursday, August 6th, 2026. It's a busy day for me. I have a first-time guest coming up just shortly, and then this afternoon I will be off to Toronto for the first time in 10 months to do an Argos home game at BMO Field as the Argos take on the Stampeders tonight, 7:30 at BMO Field. The Argos are finally back in Toronto after a 3-month hiatus in Guelph and not playing a game in Toronto since last October. So Argos Stamps tonight, 7:30. I will be in the media press box, so make sure you check out my social media pages for pictures, videos, and some post-game interviews with Mike Miller and a couple of the players as well. And the Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself, we will be doing a show at some point very soon to break down that game as well. Anyways, I hope everyone is doing well on this overcast, cool Thursday, August 6, 2026, and I'm looking forward to my guest today. We met through TikTok, social media. This is her first appearance on our show, and her name is Anastasia Rosa. She is a Toronto-based lifestyle and experience content creator, and we're going to bring her on right now after this applause. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I am doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor, and I'm looking forward to it.
How are you doing, and how are things in the city of Toronto right now?
I'm doing very well. Toronto has been really hot lately, so it's been a lot, but I'm not complaining because I absolutely love the heat. So I've been doing very well, thank you.
And right now the temperature is a little bit better. It's 22 Celsius. I'm hoping it stays that way. I don't like the 90 and 100 degree temperatures anymore.
It can be overwhelming. So I think like a nice steady one is good. And I know usually around August, once it goes into the end of August, it's like a really nice temperature. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Well, it was nice to meet you through social media, through TikTok. And I'll be honest with you, I joined TikTok over 5 years ago when I switched careers into media and radio, and I thought, oh, I'm too old for TikTok. This is ridiculous. But I've actually, I made a lot of connections there, a lot of guests from there, and I learned how to do my media work there and create content from that app.
Yeah. No, I've made a lot of connections from there too. And I think it's always good to see people from Toronto kind of always connecting there through like the hashtags or any sort of like common interest. So that's also how I've made quite a few connections, but I'm glad that you reached out. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. Are you originally from Toronto?
Yes, I've always been in Toronto, born and raised here as well.
What do you love about the city the most?
It's a good one. I would say the culture. I think it's amazing that you're able to go to like Kensington Market or like downtown and have a bunch of fusion restaurants. Like I know I had one that was like tacos with sushi, but I'm sure you can have everything you can possibly think of. I think that's my favorite thing. It's like we're very experimental, but we're also culturally driven. That's a big one for me.
I like visiting Charles. The only thing I don't like about the city is the traffic is it's insane. So I always take public transit when I come down to the city.
Yeah, I almost never drive downtown. I'm always on the go because I think it becomes a law. I don't remember the last time I've driven downtown, but I avoid that as much as possible. But I'm grateful for the go because I think it's so reliable. So
This technology, Anastasia, it really does shrink the world down, doesn't it?
it does. And I know not everyone is a big fan of it. I think I'm a big fan of it. And I think if we're able to make things more efficient for everyone, I think it's a really good thing. Like I know obviously we have the Go, which usually goes to Union, but it can kind of go past Liberty Village. And if I'm in a rush or anything, instead of thinking about the traffic and then parking and then everything else, I kind of just hop on the Go and I just make my way from there. So I have no complaints. I'm like a big fan of the Go. So
I wanted to ask you this too. I was going to bring it up later in the show, but what are your thoughts on AI and also not just affecting the workforce, shrinking the workforce, but AI on social media? Because nowadays it's getting harder and harder to tell what's AI and what's real.
I it's an interesting topic because I've seen certain videos that were created by AI. I've seen pages with like millions of followers who are evidently and very obviously AI, but maybe some of like the fans and the commentators may not catch on to that. I personally think I use AI for work, for example, whenever I have to like do scripting, like I would write my own script, but if I want to make any sort of changes or anything like that, that's when I use it, but I'm not fully reliant on it. And I'm not the biggest fan of people who are fully reliant on it because I do feel like it limits your creativity as well. You're kind of giving AI this opportunity to create everything for you, and it's not really coming from a place of human creativity, but it's robotics and once again just AI generated. So I think that's the biggest thing. But the biggest thing I'm against is those pages who are solely AI, where it's very obvious and they have fans, and it's very misleading. Like those are the ones I usually report because I'm like that's so dishonest. So
Now, being a content creator as well, Anastasia, have you done any videos content on grocery stores and shrinkflation?
I believe I did one. It wasn't specifically a grocery store, but it's an app that's called Flip. And you're able to find like deals on food. I don't think restaurants. I think it's mostly on grocery stores. So I've done a video about that and kind of talking about how I was able to save a ton of money, which I think is also related to inflation as well, because not everyone is able to go to a random grocery store and just kind of splurge there. Being a bit more strategic about your budget, I think, is a big thing when it comes to that, and that's why I'm always supportive of like any sort of apps that helps with that, which was Flip for one. I think that was a really good app that I tried, and I think there's quite a few different ones too.
Because I know in the grocery stores right now, you're paying for more and getting less in the product.
It is pretty bad. It's pretty bad. That's why I'm like always on the lookout for deals. I'm always on the lookout for even sometimes buying in bulk. I know Costco is like really good when it comes to that, especially for people who have bigger families and maybe like have bigger space to eat because once again they're just a bigger family. I think that kind of makes sense, but I'm always quite literally. I think I was doing that yesterday, like looking for deals to kind of make sure that I'm saving money because once again things in Toronto or just in general has become extremely expensive.
I went to a Blue Jays game this summer. My cousins got me a free ticket, but I ended up buying a drink. The drink was more than the ticket actually was.
Uh,
$23 for a drink.
was it a large or was it just
It was a regular alcoholic fruity drink. It tasted good. It was good, but it was priced at $23. I'm like, wow.
I know it's pretty bad, and I think usually during events too. I think because they know that people are coming to the events, and it's like, okay, you guys are at some point gonna want beer or food or water, whatever. So they increase the prices, which I think is like horrible. I've seen it when it's like Rogers Center or any sort of like concerts. I've seen that, so it's a lot. But I've actually never been to a Blue Jays game either.
Well, you can get a ticket for a reasonable price there, but their food and beverage on ridiculous. Now, I will say this: I can't say for next year with Rogers now owning 100% of the Jays, but currently, right now, you're allowed to bring in outside water, pop, and food and that. But I think next year, I think that'll be changed as well.
Okay, that sucks. Well, okay, then I'll definitely make sure to go this year because I know they have the something Tuesday. I know people usually go on the Tuesdays. I forgot what it's called, but
Looney hot dog days.
yes, that's what I heard about. So I'm like, I definitely need to go on a Tuesday or just go before the end years.
Yeah.
Year end.
They call it Looney hot dogs, but they don't take cash in the stadium. It's all debit and credit card now, gift cards. That's it.
Okay, I did not know. See, I'm learning a lot. I did not know that. Yeah, I did not know. But I know the Tuesday ones has been a big thing. So hopefully I get to go, which I'm sure I will be able to.
It's on me. Okay. I apologize. Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yeah.
guys, just a technical issue on my part. So hopefully we can get our guests back on. So the joys of technology. Can you hear and see me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep. It's just something on my end. So I do apologize. But yeah, I would try to get to a game by the end of this year. But a lot of people, they bring in pizza, then they bring food in and they're allowing it. But who knows what they'll do next year. Now, Anastasia, I wanted to ask you, can you tell my audience here in Guelph a little bit about yourself and being a Toronto-based lifestyle and experiences creator?
Yes. So I have been doing lifestyle experience content creation for maybe about a year now. And it's mostly been on TikTok and Instagram. I haven't really been doing it on YouTube, but the main thing that I focus on once again is lifestyle experience. Restaurants as well is one thing that I do, or food in general. That's usually what I focus on. And what really prompted me to do that was one of the things as well that's really known within my page is like my I Hate the Club series, which is a pretty good one, but it's really just prompted for me specifically looking for activities that I don't necessarily have to engage in like partying or anything like that as well. I know that's something that I struggled with in a while and being like, I love Toronto, but what are things that I can do? And I think that's really what my page is all about. It's really just people who want to experience life and increase their lifestyle exposure as well without compromising any sort of values or anything like that. So I think that was really what started it for me. And it's been going great. I love it. I've met so many people. I've been invited to so many events as well. It's been like, oh, I've had the best time. So I've definitely been enjoying the experience so far.
When did you develop a passion for social media as a Toronto lifestyle and experiences creator? And so what's been some of your most memorable content you've created so far?
Hmm. So I think I developed a passion maybe like 3, 4 years ago. And what prompted it was I went to an event that was being hosted by a company. At the time, I was working in media, so I was just invited based on my company. But I ended up meeting a whole bunch of content creators there and speaking to them. And a lot of them were doing content creation full time or they were just starting into content creation. But I was getting a lot of advice and support from them. And I think that's really where it kind of prompted me being like, oh, I think that's really cool that you're able to translate your experience and your story specifically through video content. I don't think at the time TikTok was really big. I think it was mostly Instagram, but I think that's what inspired me originally was that speaking to other people and kind of also being a consumer of media as well, being like, I wonder how it feels like to be on the complete other side and being able to make the content rather than just solely consuming it. So I think that's really where it came from. And then the second question, oh, so with lifestyle and experience, I think my favorite experience or video that I've made I think has to be the Daily Bread food bank video. I think that one was my favorite because it was my most meaningful one. It was the one where I was able to interview the CEO and speaking about the different initiatives that are happening in Toronto with food banks. As everyone knows, we're in like in an extreme crisis when it comes to that. And Daily Bread Food Bank has been around for quite a while and has always advocated and helped a lot. But I was always curious to hear more about food banks in general and how bad it really is when it comes to food insecurity. So I think that definitely was my favorite, and I think it was probably like my first interview style video that I've done on my page, because I don't really do that stuff, but I think I was really inspired and passionate about, once again, food insecurity, that I was like, I think I could just find a way to integrate it within my content, which is what I was able to do.
And that's how I discovered you, Anastasia, was from that interview on TikTok with the gentleman from the food bank. And I was going to play a little bit later, but I'm going to play a little clip now of the interview with the CEO of the Daily Food Bread Bank in Toronto. And how can people follow you on TikTok too at the same point in time?
Yes. So yeah. So TikTok would be Anastasia Rosa, but it's Anastasia at the end with two A's, and then Rosa at the end with two A's. So that's usually how people follow me on TikTok, or how they can find me on TikTok. That's my main platform, I would say.
And I thought this interview was great, and we're going to play the clip right now. I believe the gentleman's name was what, Neil
Yes.
Heatherton?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, 1 second. We'll play this interview right now, courtesy of your TikTok page. 1 second.
The big takeaway is that together as a community, we can do something. 1 in 10 Torontonians needs to make use of food banks. How we can get 1 million meals out into the community is substantive and challenging. So we wanted to give a behind the scenes look to our donors, our volunteers, our advocates. 5 years ago that we were serving 60,000 people per month. And that number now is over 300,000. And we would never be able to do that unless we had the care and the leadership of the community. The 407 donation was incredible, and we need it. We are spending about $24 million a year on food, and that's up from 1.5 million. So we need everybody to say, hey, it's fundamentally wrong that people's right to food is not being realized, and we have the capacity to change that. Right now, I think all three levels of government are failing when it comes to the poverty reduction strategy. At a federal level, we want to reduce poverty by 50% by 2030. And we're not on track to do that. In fact, now 1 in 4 Canadians is food insecure. The Daily Bread Food Bank, we are advocating for the Canada Disability Benefit. We're advocating for affordable housing. We're saying it is wrong that somebody on disability in Ontario only gets $1,400 a month to survive. I was incredibly grateful that Mayor Chow took that leadership position and made a declaration, a state of emergency when it comes to food insecurity in the city of Toronto. The city of Toronto should expect that the Daily Bread Food Bank will show up and be there. When the pandemic started, we made a promise to the city. That promise was very straightforward, that every time somebody walked through our doors, that there would be 3 days worth of food available for them. And we've still maintained that promise.
Yeah, I really love that one.
Thoughts on this interview with Neil from the Daily Food Bank?
Yeah, I think first of all, it really was a pleasure to work with them, and even the Daily Bread Food Bank giving me the opportunity to even come in. Like, I had a whole separate section, like they hosted me, they gave me a tour, and then I was able to do the interview. And it really was a heartfelt moment for me, and I think it was because of the stories that they would talk about when it comes to food insecurity. And once again, all of the stats and the numbers that were given of the amount of people who are food insecure and the amount of people that come in every day, in the food bank specifically, I think was very heartfelt. And I think I got a little emotional, actually. It was really sad to think about how much work is being done, but then also on the flip side being like, should this much work even be done? Like, what are certain legislations or laws that need to be implemented by, once again, like you said, Olivia Chow, to make sure that things are different and whatnot. But it was a beautiful interview, and I think once again, I'm super happy that I was able to work with them, and I'm really happy that I had the experience of seeing it in person, because I've volunteered at food banks before, but I feel like that's completely different. Whereas we interviewed and we kind of talked about their experience, and then I was able to have that one-on-one with the CEO, who is extremely kind and extremely patient as well. So I really liked that experience. I think it was definitely one of my highlights ever, actually, that I've done, just because of the sentimental value that came with it.
Any more plans for more interviews in the future? And also, I've had a couple of shows on from Hamilton, from their food bank in the Burlington, Hamilton, Milton region as well. And people don't realize the demand for food is more than ever before with the high cost of living, and everything keeps going up.
Yeah, it's so with interviews, I think I've thought about it for a while because the Daily Bread once again was my first one. I think I would be open to exploring other food banks or other non-for-profit organizations that are really helping. So yeah, there's so many different non-for-profits. I was doing my own research and I was like, wow, it would be such an honor to be able to meet with a lot of different organizations and speak to them. So hopefully that's something that happens for me in the future. But yeah, with what you were saying about Hamilton and all the other different food banks, like I've looked at everyone's website, I've looked at all of their stats, and once again, it's just it's horrible. And I think um, doing interviews and kind of spreading awareness about that also helps other people, whether it's donating to the Daily Bread food bank. Like I know the Daily Bread, they had just received, I think it was $1 million as a donation from the 407 ETR. And those are some of the things that need to happen, right? It doesn't necessarily also have to be monetary. It can be donating food or even volunteering as well. Daily Bread Food Bank, I think a month before I did my interview with them, they just did a volunteer open house where a lot of volunteers were able to get an idea and an experience of how it is to volunteer there, and also talking about why they really want volunteers there. So they also need volunteers, right? It's not just the Daily Bread Food Bank, but a lot of different food banks are lacking in volunteers and drivers and anything like that. So it would be good at some point to kind of interview others just to hear more about their stories. But at the end of the day, I think it's the biggest thing is the food insecurity, which they all struggle with too, which is obviously unfortunate.
And also, too, I think they're getting less attention with the mainstream media shrinking these days.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's why a lot of them are kind of going into content creation and investing in social media marketing or anything like that, just so they can get the word more out. I think the organic content is always good. Obviously, people love that, but yeah, I know that I've seen other food banks that kind of invested in that. You can tell they've invested in the marketing, which um, obviously it's unfortunate that a not-for-profit organization has to do that, but just like you said, it's mainstream media. It's unfortunately food banks or whatever else are not going to be trending or anything like that if it's not involved with like a viral trend or anything like that, which is unfortunate. So being creative when it comes to that, and the way that you want to present yourself and the way that you want to expand your audience and your reach and just broaden that as well, also matters as well. Once again, which is unfortunate, but social media is a big thing. So yeah.
Any more plans in the future to do some more interviews?
Um, let me see. I think I don't currently have any plans for interviews. I think it would be really good if I were to once again work with like non-for-profit organizations and find other ones that maybe want to talk about. It doesn't necessarily have to be food banks, but just non-for-profit, or either any sort of organizations as well. I know one thing that I think is pretty cool is like interviewing, but also hosting as well, and just kind of doing that. I think would be pretty fun. So no plans yet, but I'm hoping that at some point I'm able to have more of those opportunities.
Any plans for a podcast of your own in the future?
Mm, I commend people that have podcasts because it takes a lot of work. I myself listen to a few podcasts here and there. I don't know if I would do one myself. That's all my kudos to you for doing it for so long because I know it's a lot of work. I think I like being featured in podcasts, but I don't know if I could actually run like my own podcast. Maybe one day, you never know. Like, don't quote me on that. But right now, I don't think there's any plans on podcasts. I know that one thing too that I said is I don't have YouTube. I think at some point I will love to do more content on YouTube, like posting maybe some of the interviews that I do on YouTube as like a long form content, I think would be really good. I think the one with Neil I posted was maybe like I think it was 2 minutes, but obviously the actual interview was way longer. So maybe at some point, like giving people the opportunity of seeing that on a longer format on YouTube would be something I would be really, really open to.
As much as I love doing the show virtually, which has been great, I like doing in-person interviews even more. You have to think on your feet more, and you also have to even listen more when it's in person instead of virtual. Not that you don't on here, but in person, it's just a little different, complex.
Okay, okay. And so what's your favorite? Is it in person or virtual? I'm assuming in person is your favorite.
I like virtual because I've been able to do people from around the world and from various professions, but in person, I kind of like better. Honestly, if I had a choice in person, but I like doing both, and I think it's important to be able to do both. But I would say the edge would go to in-person interviews. You get more out of a person in person than virtually. Not that you can't, but it's just a little more different. It's more, I don't know, it's more relaxed and more open in person than in virtual.
Yeah, I agree. I think when I did my interview with Neil, I couldn't have imagined how I would have been able to do that virtual because I feel like I was able to get so much. Like I said, like I had to trim it down by a lot because the original was like really long, but I had to get so much information there. And like we obviously got to talk beforehand just to get comfortable with one another. So I agree that in person would be a good one. So I really hope that one day I'm able to do an in-person one again. That would be really, really fun. And I know I said Neil was my favorite. Do you have a favorite that you've done like in person or anything like that?
I would say one of my favorite in-person interviews would be
Yeah.
Mike Pinball Clements from the Toronto Argonauts. He's one of the nicest guys. Everybody knows who Pinball Clements is. He's very active in the community. He's one of the nicest guys. So I would say he's one of my favorite interviews.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. And yeah, I've seen your videos too, and I know you've done in person for a while too. So like I said, I hope that for myself, I'm able to do that at some point. So that
Well,
one,
let me know if I can help you and pay it forward from my experience.
that would be okay. Since we're on the call, do you have any tips or anything like that? We can definitely continue on with the conversation offline, but I think that's a good one. Do you have any tips or anything like that for that?
Be yourself. Don't try to be somebody that you're not. Be yourself, and mistakes do happen. I've made mistakes. You learn from them, but be yourself, and just make sure you listen to whoever you're interviewing, and make sure when you get someone to interview, whether it's virtually like this or in person, make sure they're talker. Make sure they're comfortable. Make sure they're comfortable being on camera, being on social media. If they're not comfortable being on camera or social media, you might not want to interview them.
Okay, that's a really good.
And
Yeah.
always ask them if they've got 5 minutes or 10 minutes. The thing is with these in-person interviews, if you do 10 minutes, 20 minutes, it really sucks up your memory on your phone. So I would say ideally try to keep them to about 7 minutes or less when you're doing in-person interviews, because unless your phone has 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes, I would say ideally in-person interviews 7 minutes. But they also say on TikTok and YouTube, the shorter the video, the more views, because everybody's attention spans nowadays is diminishing, like I am.
No, I'm the same way too, and that's why I think yeah, like I said, the Neil video I had to cut it down a few because it was, I think maybe the total was like 10 minutes or so, but yeah, that's really good advice, and I'm really really hoping that one day I'm able to do more in person. I'm not like, yeah, I'm not opposed to anything as well. I think I always want to learn more, and like I'm always open to learning from you too as well. I think that'd be really good to see what are different options that are available for me to do interviews or anything like that. I think that's really cool.
Do you agree with me? Attention spans are kind of shrinking these days.
They are, and I'm guilty of that definitely. And I think, um, I've seen videos maybe like on TikTok or on Instagram that maybe go on for like 3, 4, 5 minutes. And there's actually like the analytics as well from my TikTok. I've noticed that whenever it's slightly longer, people usually drop off maybe at like 20 seconds or something like that. So I can definitely see how that impacts it, where it has to be like super quick, and some of those like really long formats have to be extremely intentional with like edits or anything like that too. And the editing platforms that I use are CapCut. I'm not really versed that well on like Premiere Pro yet. I want to at some point, or like DaVinci Resolve. I'm not versed on that well, but I know that once again with like edits,
I think you froze up there, Anastasia. So, guys, we're just talking before we got internet Wi-Fi issue. We're just talking to Anastasia about social media and tensions expands and stuff like that. But I was going to say, if you're back, Anastasia, I would recommend getting on YouTube. YouTube is a lot of work because I've been on there for 15 years. But YouTube is a lot of work, but the YouTube shorts, if you can put videos on YouTube shorts for like 20 seconds or less, that will help you get a lot of views. YouTube shorts. So I've learned I put a lot of my long work on there, but I also put a lot of my short content there as well. And for you being a content creator as well in Toronto, I would recommend probably getting yourself on YouTube at some point.
Yeah, that's a good one. You can hear me, right? Is now good?
Yeah, I can see you and hear you good now. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not sure what happened, but I heard what you said. I think I've seen people do that, like a mix of like the short and the long format content as well on YouTube. And then like I was saying before, I know that I've noticed people usually drop off on my videos maybe like 20 seconds in. So some of those like really quick social media platforms may not be the best for the longer formats. I think YouTube is known for being a long format anyways, and that's usually where I watch the longer formats for myself as well. So that would be really good. I think YouTube is like a beast of its own, because it's completely different from TikTok and Instagram. Once again, TikTok and Instagram, it's super quick, it's short form content, whereas the longer ones, you really have to work on retention and being like, how are people even going to be able to watch the full thing? So that is something I really want to learn. And yeah, I appreciate you mentioning maybe starting on YouTube. I think that would be good. A mix of like short form content and then long format, I think would be good.
And also my advice is post consistently, but quality over quantity, because some people go crazy. I would say quality over quantity and just be consistent with your posting there.
Yeah, I agree. I think there may have been a point in the very beginning where I was posting every day. And creator burnout, I'm not sure if you've ever experienced it, but creator burnout definitely does happen, where it can be a lot, right? Like we have different things going on in life, but then you also have to create constantly. And I've actually realized I've gained more of like an audience and a following when I've posted less, when I've kind of just let the video marinate a bit and kind of let the algorithm get an idea of what's going on. I've had better success then. So I haven't been doing that as well, but it goes back to what you're saying about the quality, where I think maybe before I was very much like just post whatever and just continue on, but then I was like, quality matters more, so I'd rather just take a bit more time to focus on that rather than just telling myself that I'm doing it every day, because it's a lot. I don't know if you've, like I said, I don't know if you've experienced creator burnout before, but it does happen.
Absolutely. And you don't want to burn out. And I'm the talk show host, but I'm also the producer. I'm a content creator. I edit video. Literally wear 10 different hats on my big head. And sometimes I have to learn to take it easy. Last week, I did 7 shows in 8 days. And I don't want to get to a point where when I have a guest on, I'm fatigued and I'm not interested in the conversation. So I have to learn to do a better work-life balance as well. Because sometimes producing all this stuff, to me, it's quality over quantity, and that's something I'm learning too. And one thing I always do, I always carry my phone and my microphone with me. Sometimes I don't need them, but there's sometimes where something happens. It's like, this would make good content too. And with content creating, you know this as well, Anastasia. Sometimes you can create content and you think, oh, this will do well, this will go viral, and it does poorly. And then sometimes you post something that's silly and ridiculous and it does well.
Those are the funniest, because I remember, I think there may have been a video where I spent maybe like an hour editing. I think it was like a vlog. And it did not do well. But then I had another video where I went to a store and I kind of just took very quick videos of what I was doing, and then I posted it. I had no thought, like, I don't even think I used a hashtag. It was very just like, okay, let me just post this. And it was one of like my most viewed videos at the time, which I was like, okay, that's interesting. So I think that's really how content works sometimes. I know when you're putting in the work, however, like it will bear fruit at some point. And like you said, like the consistency is a big thing. And I know I mentioned creator burnout. Do you have any tips for avoiding that? Because I've definitely experienced that before. But do you have any tips, since once again you've been doing this for a very long time and you're very consistent with your guests? Do you have any tips with that?
If you have a day where you're actually tired and you're tired or you're not 100%, it can wait to the next day. Because there's been times where I've worked to 3, 4 in the morning, and then I can't sleep, and it affects your physical body, your mental health. And sometimes you can have all this content on your phone, and I can relate, and I'm sure you can. You want to get it out there right away, but sometimes it can wait. Like sometimes it's like, does it really have to get done at 2, 3 in the morning? So it's like I have to learn to, hey, I got great content here, but you know what? I want to get a good night's sleep. I want to take a little bit of a break. Sometimes I get a sore neck because I'm on my laptop or my phone too long. So I know when my neck's sore, that means I got to take a break from the on the computers and stuff like that. But just sometimes it doesn't. The content is it's great to get it out, but sometimes it can wait to the next morning, from my experience.
That's a good point. I think I've had my experience as well, where maybe I've stayed like overnight being like, I need to edit this right now and I need to make sure it's, I've done that before. But I think obviously sleep is like a big thing. It's like super important, and sometimes it overlaps that as well. So I never want to get to a point where I'm like losing sleep or anything like that, where just like you said, like the work life balance is like a big one. So yeah, it's a lot of good tips, that I will definitely be implementing.
And also too, if you're having a day where you're not having a great day, you're having a bad day, or you're kind of down in the dumps about something, maybe just take a break from social media too. I probably should once in a while take a full day off social media. I do use it a lot, but sometimes it can be overwhelming. And then you see some other people, oh, my life's perfect, I have this and that, and it can kind of get you down in the dumps too. So if you're not feeling 100%, maybe step back a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think it's very easy to compare yourself as a creator and maybe looking at like other people's engagements or other people's brand deals or like platform or anything like that, and maybe using that as a fuel to be like, let me just go 10 times harder. But at some point you will burn out, which has happened to me definitely. So yeah, I think the balance is a big thing, and taking a break. I think last time I think I took a break was maybe back in like February, where yeah, I think I took maybe like a week off actually, where I was like, okay, I think I need, and that's another thing too, which I'm not sure you've experienced, but I think being in a creative block is something that has happened to me multiple times before, where I've been like, maybe I have to take a few days off so that I can kind of rewire my brain, and then I come back like better than ever because I've taken that break too. So it's a mix between the burnout but also the creative block that I feel like taking a break has helped me with.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on belittling others in social media?
I think it is horrible. And I was just talking about this with someone yesterday, where, hate comments or anything like that. Like I obviously watch people's videos all the time, and some of the comments of maybe belittling people, or like the hate comments, or very like hurtful comments. I've seen those multiple times, and I think it's just horrible. I actually like report certain videos as well whenever I'm like, okay, this is like really hateful. I think I had one recently where a girl was talking about a creator that she saw online, and she was kind of opening up this door for people to bash her in the comments. And the comments were horrible, and I ended up just reporting her because I was like, I think that's really awful. I think celebrities also get that as well, like celebrities and influencers, whenever they're at an award show or there's like a movie happening, like people are like microscopically looking into the minute details and the specific details and like bashing them. I think that's horrible, and that's why I try my very best to avoid interacting with those, because I think I want my platform and my audience to relate to my values, which is, you know, all about support and community and peace. I literally avoid any sort of hateful comments. I usually hateful comments or hateful content. I usually avoid them.
I block it. I block it.
I think it's, yeah, it's horrible. And I've obviously had like, I've had hate comments before where I've usually either like reported it or just ignored it as well, because then you look at it from a grand scope of things, and you know, you could have 10 positive comments, but then the one comment would get to you. And that's one thing I tell myself, it's the 10 are amazing comments, so I shouldn't just allow this one to get to me, right? And a lot of people are, you know, not at their happiest state, and because of that they just end up putting that on other people. And it's easy to do that on social media because you're not in person, you're not necessarily like talking to someone in person, you're just behind a screen, and it's so much easier to just leave a comment and move on with your day. So that's kind of how I see it as like a POV. I'm like, you know, miserable people just love making other people miserable, but that's not going to get to me because I just know that's not who I am or what my platform represents.
Do you find empathy, especially on the internet, is shrinking too?
I do. I think I find empathy, and the reason why is I think people are just really lonely. And I think they look for community, and sometimes you have a positive community where people are, you know, amping each other up and they're super supportive, but then on the flip side you have people who are lonely and miserable and then find themselves integrating with horrible communities. So it's a mix of both, but I have empathy for both because I'm like, at the center of it all, it really comes down to loneliness. Like, you're probably just lonely, you're probably just at home, you probably just don't have anyone, and because you see other people succeeding, you see other people being happy, like you just want to drag them down. So I think I have empathy for both sides, which not everyone would say, but I understand both. I still think it's horrible to like leave hateful comments or make hateful videos, but I have empathy for both sides.
Do you find social skills are shrinking too due to the internet and all these platforms nowadays?
They are. And I think obviously we've seen it considerably during COVID, where, you know, everyone's inside and you're not really allowed to be outside. And sometimes people don't even have families. Sometimes it's just themselves. And then you're indoors for years and years and you're coming out and you're not really used to socializing, especially if you're someone that's more like chronically online, to that online interaction. Now you actually have to, just like you said, just like we're talking about the in-person interviews, you have to listen, you have to empathize in real time, you have to have that back and forth conversation in real time. Like, you don't really have time to step away and like be like, oh, 1 second, let me just think about, like, it has to be in real time. And I think people have definitely lost a lot of social skills, but that's why on my page as well, I also always love to like promote events that are community based or bigger events as well, because I do feel like that's really the only way to improve social skills, is to actually be in the wild and like fail. Just like you said, like maybe you have awkward moments, maybe you have moments where you're like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. But I think that's the best way to learn is to fail. So I think we've definitely lost the art of social skills, but I think it's definitely something that can be reversed if the person makes an effort to speak to people. That's the only way you can build social skills, really.
Anastasia, do you have a couple more minutes for a couple more quick questions?
I do, yes.
Okay. Can you just quickly explain to our audience these terms, intentional living and self-discovery?
hmm So intentional living, for me, the reason why I put that, and the reason why it's important to me, is because as we get older, as I was getting older, within my I kind of looked back and was like, am I doing things because of the sake of it, or am I really putting intention behind it? And that's where I started like writing bucket lists of like, okay, let me write things I actually intentionally want to do. One of the things on my bucket list was, solo traveling, which I was able to do. So I think that's why it relates to intentional living. It's because this is what I said I wanted to do, and I was able to do it rather than maybe following the crowd and doing what society expects me to do. Let me just do things that I intentionally am doing to make me happy, which a lot of times goes against the norm, but I think that's really what makes me happy. And then, sorry, what was the second part?
Intentional living and self-discovery.
Yes. So, as you know, in my early 20s, I think the self discovery, and obviously we're always discovering ourselves every day, but I think I had gotten a point which actually relates to intentional living, where I realized I was doing things because it was acceptable in the society, but not necessarily because I wanted to do it. So I went through like a very deep self discovery phase where I was like, what makes me happy? Like, what is something that I want to do? How can I improve myself? And it goes back to solo traveling, where I think I discovered so much, like so much about myself during solo traveling, which also tied to intentional living with self discovery, because I realized certain things that I don't like, certain things that I do love. And for example, one thing that I discovered was I'm a thrill seeker. I went sandboarding in Peru by myself. I went, you know, what is it called? It's not skydiving. It's similar to skydiving, but I did that also in Peru as well. I was Airbnb hopping in Argentina. Like, it's a bunch of different things that I did, but I really do think it contributed to my intentional living and self discovery. And I've discovered so much about myself. So I definitely recommend everyone does that, and just doing things that you want to do, not necessarily because society wants you to do it.
I have a viewer watching from Buffalo. His name is Robbie Schneider. He wants to say hi, Chris and Anastasia. Great show. He is watching on YouTube, and he has his own podcast as well. Thank you, Robbie, for watching our show.
Thank you. Thank you.
By the way, when I was younger, this social, like I'm 54 now, but when I was younger, you can't go to movies, you can't go to sporting events by yourself, social taboo nonsense. Well, guess what? But since I turned 40 and now I'm 54, I do a lot of things on my own. I go to movies by myself, sporting events by myself. I've gone to other countries by myself. When I do media work, I know how to connect to people. Even if I go on a bus trip somewhere, I know how to talk to people. And this whole social taboo, you're missing out on life if you just listen to this old tradition of social taboo. It's nonsense. Just like, well, if you're in your 20s and 30s, you have to be married and have kids. No, you don't. It's a personal choice.
Yeah, and I think that's what relates to the intentional living and self discovery, because it was going beyond what, maybe my family or like the society wants me to do. Like, I remember till this day, like whenever I talk about solo traveling, people are always like, that's insane. Like, how could you, go to these places? But then I'm like, how could I not go to these places by myself? And I think it goes back to, self discovery again, where I'm like, I now am in a position where I'm not necessarily relying on anyone, but it's really just, if I want to go to the movies today, then I can go today. I don't necessarily have to be like, I have to message someone and I have to make sure someone's with me. Like, I can do that if, and a lot of my content too, as well, whenever it's been like festivals or anything like that, like I believe a few of them were also just me being like, I wasn't able to get anyone, so I just did it by myself. And
Yeah.
example, the food bank interview that I did as well was, by myself. I didn't necessarily have a team. Like, I had my tripod, I had my mic, and I did the editing by myself. So I think once I started to do things by myself, I stopped being reliant on other people. But it's really just, being happy about the fact that I can do things by myself, and it's really fun. I definitely recommend it to everyone.
You want to continue to grow and not play small.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. And I think in my early 20s is probably where I was doing that, because I was following whatever everyone else was doing. But when I really started to expand my mind and discover more about things that I liked, I feel like it definitely made a big difference. And I think it's the same thing with content creation. Like if you had asked me like 5, 10 years ago if I ever would have done it, I would have been like, no, that's weird. Like, just do your 9 to 5, or just do everything traditionally. But content creation for me as well kind of steps out of the norm and being like, I'm gonna get rejected. I'm gonna have people that I know from before maybe like judge me or have any sort of insights as well. But that's not me playing it small. That's me being like, I have the potential of doing so much more. Let me not follow what everyone wants me to do, but just go against the grain.
I 100% agree, and I can relate. And doing this show, I've had guests on that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Everybody I can relate to a lot of my guests, and that's what I love doing about this show. Every guest here has a unique career and a unique story, and a lot of us can relate, and this is why I do this.
Yeah, no, and I'm happy that you're also able to sustain that and do that for yourself as well. Like I think there's so many things that you've talked about on this call that relates to me as well. So I appreciate you kind of giving everyone an open space to be able to relate to you, because I think that's also a big thing too.
And I mentioned how I met you on TikTok from your interview with the gentleman, but what were your overall first impressions when you saw my page when I connected with you?
I think the biggest thing that I remember thinking was he has so many episodes, but in a good way around, like he is dedicated and consistent. Because having a talk show, a podcast, like all of these different digital platforms is not easy, specifically doing it for a long time consistently. And that was the first thing I noticed. And that's actually why I was very open to being like, oh, he's a pro at this. Like you've been doing it for so long. Where I was like, there's obviously it's a pleasure to be here too, but also being like, how can I learn from him? Because it's not easy. Like I said, I've been doing it seriously for maybe a year. And I have my moments where maybe I have like self-doubt or anything like that too. But that's really what drew me to you, was like he's been doing this for so long consistently. That's the biggest thing.
Block out the noise, and you have to believe in yourself. Because you're going to have people who support you, but you're going to have non-believers, skeptics, in some cases in media, haters. You got to block out the noise. And when someone says no to you, I look at it as a temporary setback, and I learn from it. And sometimes guests, you're not their cup of tea. You're not their cup of tea. I'm not their cup of tea. You can't take it personally, and you move on. And sometimes people a month later, they'll come back and say, "Hey, we like your work. We wanna work with you on here too."
Yeah, that's a big one. And I think I saw that when I got my first like collaboration, when I got someone that first reached out to me and was like, hey, we want to collaborate, and then we've been collaborating multiple times since. I think that's really what it was. I think the first yes also ignites something too, when it's like if someone can say yes, a billion people could say no, but like the one yes is a major thing. So yeah, I really appreciate that advice and insight.
You are a natural on camera now. Have you done other podcasts before?
I believe I may have done one when I was like younger, maybe like I think maybe like 5, 6 years ago. And I think it was mostly talking about, I think it was like technology and yeah, I think it was mostly technology. I think at that time I was still in university. So I was talking about my experience as a university student, but I haven't done any before, but I would love to. That's why I was really excited about this one. I would love to do more podcasts and just videos and interviews and stuff. I think that would be really cool.
Well, you have an open invite in the future to come back on this show again.
Yes, definitely will. Thank you.
Or if we ever meet in Toronto, you're welcome to do an in-person interview with me.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I know because you're in Toronto today, and I think you'll definitely love Toronto today. I think the weather is like good enough, but yeah, definitely next time, if we ever get the chance to, I would love to do that. That'd be amazing.
Deal. Count me in.
Perfect.
Hey, speaking of Toronto, as we wrap this show up, what are some upcoming events in the city of Toronto you'd like to promote or you might be at?
So August is always packed with events, and I think it's obviously because summer dies down. Cirque du Soleil is one that I'm always looking forward to. I think the last day is August 20th or 30th, one of those, but I'm always a really big fan of that. Taste of Danforth, which hasn't been going on for about 2 years, just came back for this weekend, I believe. So that's going to be a really, really good one. Yeah, I think those are the two major ones that I'm like really looking forward to. Taste of Danforth is always a good one with their food, and I know they had to cancel a few times, but I'm really happy that they're coming back. So that's a good one.
And we have the CNE coming up in a couple weeks too. Will
Exactly.
you be there? Will
Yes.
you be there at the CNE? Because I will be there as media this year.
Oh, nice. Yes, I'll definitely be at the CNE. I think I didn't go last year, but I went the year before, and it's always a good time. So yeah, CNE, I will definitely be there too.
Hopefully, we can run into each other at the CNE.
Exactly. Yes, that'd be amazing.
Okay. Now I'm going to put you on the spot here with this question as we wrap this show up. What's 3 words to describe yourself and a fun fact about yourself?
3 words. I think creative, which is maybe taboo, but I think content creation requires a lot of that. So I would say creative. Um, I would also align that with like innovative, and I think I'm really good at being creative, but also implementing that.
All right, everybody. I think I just lost my guest, just a Wi-Fi connection. So, Anastasia, you froze up, so I don't know if you want to log off and log back on. Technology, guys, it does happen in TV, happens in radio, and sometimes in live stream. Live streaming. Anastasia was just basically going to answer my question about 3 words to describe herself in a fun fact. Oh, you're back.
Hey,
Okay,
can
I
you
was
hear
just
me? I wasn't
yeah,
sure.
yeah, you froze there, but no big deal. I was just keeping the show going. I knew you'd come back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you good now.
But I don't think I can hear you.
Okay, well, my microphone is working, so okay. You want to try logging back in again? Everybody, just bear with us. We were wrapping up the show in the next minute or two. So now can you hear me, Anastasia? Just technology, guys.
You can hear me,
So
right?
yeah, I can hear you.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It seems like I can't hear you. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'll just mention. I think those are the biggest things, and I think a fun fact about me, I think, is I've been to 12 countries overall. I think that's like a very basic fact, but that's definitely a big one. That I've been to over 12 countries, so I'm really excited about that.
12 countries. I've been to 2. So I'm going to have, next time I have you on, I'll have to ask you more about that as well. And as we wrap up the show, guys, ask the host CDP a question. Anastasia, I'm not sure if you can hear me or not, but if you're able to answer this question. Yeah, guy, we're just working.
Yeah, it's weird. I can't hear you, but I see the text. So ask the host a question. Let me see if I have a question. What kind of got you started initially with the talk show and just the podcast and everything in general?
I got a taste of broadcasting about 7 years ago. I was volunteering with a local semi-pro basketball team. They needed a camera operator. I volunteered. I had no idea what I was doing. They showed me how to film a basketball game, and at the end of the game, they actually paid me. They referred me to a local TV company, and for a couple years, I did camera work. The camera work led to my podcast, and then my podcast was on a radio station for a couple years, and I love what I'm doing. I love connecting with people, storytelling, learning from my guests and stuff like that. So being at the right place at the right time through volunteer work. And it's never too late to find a new career. I was 47 when I got a taste of the broadcasting bug, and I'm 54. Age is just a number. And yeah, just being at the right place at the right time and volunteer work. I've done volunteer work for 31 years of my life, and it's being a big part of my life as well. And I think that was a really good question. Everybody, we're going to wrap this show up. I do apologize for some of the technical glitches here with the Wi-Fi, but we're going to try to get one more question in from our guest as we wrap this up. Anastasia, can you read this now? Where can our audience follow you on social media, your website, and the best way of contacting you?
Yeah, it's where I can't hear you.
Are you able to answer the last
Oh, where
question?
can the audience follow? I'm just reading. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So, the biggest one would be TikTok. That's usually where I am. Once again, it's Anastasia, 2 A's at the end, and then Rosa, 2 A's at the end. And it's exactly the same thing on Instagram. I don't have any websites yet, but it would be really cool at some point to have one. But definitely my main point or main page would be TikTok.
Well, Anastasia, I want to say thank you so much for coming on this morning, and continue success in what you're doing with your content creating. And as a Toronto-based lifestyle and experience content creator, we'll definitely keep in touch on social media. And if you want to pay it, if I can try to pay it forward to you or try to help you out with some advice from my experiences, I'd be glad to help as well. If you can give me a little bit of time today or maybe tomorrow, I will send you the full video, the audio, and some reels and clips as well. I really appreciate you coming on here today, and I want to say thank you so much. And we will be in touch very soon on social media. And I'm going to wave to you because there's an issue, obviously, with your audio. So you two, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too. All right, everyone, that concludes season 14, episode 30, overall 745 of Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show. Again, I do apologize for a few of the issues today with the Wi-Fi and the internet. It happens in TV, it happens in radio, and happens in live streaming, but I think Anastasia and myself got through with this as well. And again, thank you to Anastasia Rosa, who is a Toronto-based lifestyle and experiences content creator, for coming on our show, guys. And you can follow her on Instagram, on Threads, and TikTok as well. And as we wrap up the show, guys, again, I want to say thank you to Anastasia Rosa for coming on, and thank you, the audience, for watching this show on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitch, X, and Instagram. And also thank you to everyone listening to this show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Good Pods, and wherever podcasts are available. And as we wrap up this show, guys, because I'm off to Toronto this afternoon, my next Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show by BarryCullen.com is going to take place on Friday, August 7th at 4:30 p.m. Eastern with special guest Shanika Etheridge. She has over 24 years of experience in dentistry, brings a strong clinical background combined with expertise in patient care, dental operations, startups, practice growth, and relationship building. So if you're interested in the world of dentistry, and dentists do a really great job, dentist century. So basically, guys, if you're interested in the world of dentistry, please check out Live with CDP Sports and Entertainment Talk Show, brought to you by BarryCullen.com, again on Friday, August 7th at 4:30 p.m. with my special guest, Shanika Eldridge, with over 24 years of experience in the dentist industry as well. And I am off to Toronto this afternoon via the GO train. I will be leaving for Toronto at 3 o'clock, and I will be in the Toronto BMO Fields media press box tonight for the Argos Stampeder game, 7:30 on TSN or TSN 1050 with Mike Hogan and Ben Grant. Please make sure you check out my social media pages for pictures, videos, and some post-game interviews. And who knows, maybe a pre-game interview as well. So it's the Argos' first home game in Toronto since last October 2025. And the Argos are coming into this game 3-4. They're going against the red-hot Calgary Stampeders and Vernon Adams Juniors, who are 4-4. So again, I want to say thank you to Anastasia Rosa for coming on here today, and everyone for watching this show, and of course to Barry Cullen Chevrolet dealership as well. And as always, go Argos, and please check out my social media this weekend for the next Argo Bounce podcast show with Nick Small and myself, and we will break down the Argo Stampeders game as well. And that is about it, guys. Off the Toronto, we will talk to you very soon. And thank you, everyone, for watching and listening to our show this morning with Anastasia Rosa. And please make sure you follow her on Threads, Instagram, and on TikTok as well. Have a great day, everybody. And as always, go Argos.